Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. Great conversation today with Neal Holman of Floyd County Animation, the people who have brought us in the past, C-Lab 2021, Frisky Dingo, a show that Neal worked on, and of course, Archer. Man, 8 seasons strong. They're going into season 8 and wrapped up season 7 this year. Neal is behind the art of Archer, which is a good thing because Neal is the art director on the Archer TV series. And The Art of Archer is this incredible coffee table book that really gives you everything you wanted to know about the Archer series. From the shift in season 5 to character designs, how they do the things that they do visually. It's all covered here. Plus, great interviews with the cast and the crew and the cars. You name it, it is in this incredible volume, The Art of Archer. Neal also has a comic coming out from Oni Press called Redlines. It comes out in March, and we talk about that. It's a pretty cool thing, extrapolating what our U.S. forces do, say, in foreign countries and stuff. Well, instead, imagine them on Mars. It's a few years into the future, but pretty much the military does look the same, and there are a lot of allegories to the military's conduct on Mars as opposed to in countries like, the Middle Eastern countries and the like. So it's a great conversation. We also do a little 2015... It's a great conversation. We also do a little 2016 wrap-up of what we liked and what we didn't like. I think you're going to enjoy this conversation with Neal Holman on today's Word Balloon. Today's Word Balloon brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League, for your support. It's been a great 2016, and I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you very much. If you would like to be a member of the League of Word Balloon listeners, you can do that by subscribing to Word Balloon via Patreon. If you go to wordballoon.com, there is a Patreon ad right there on the front page. Click on that. It will take you to my Patreon page. And if you can even spare even $1 a month, that would be terrific. Think about it. Word Balloon, I try and give you a lot of entertainment every month. If you think what I do and the interviews that you get to hear because of Word Balloon is worth the price of a comic, $3.99, $4.99, that's great. Thank you. But the place to do it is at patreon.com/wordballoon, or if you go to wordballoon.com and click on that Patreon ad, it will take you to my Patreon page. Thank you very much, League of Word Balloon listeners. Word Balloon is also brought to you by In Stock Trades at instocktrades.com. It's Thursday as we're recording this, and man, there's some really neat things happening at In Stock Trades. For example, you can get Black Widow, a trade paperback called Web of Intrigue, and it includes work from a lot of different people. I guess I'm looking to see who's in here, but it's got a great George Perez cover, and it really deals with the Champions, S.H.I.E.L.D., and, of course, Black Widow herself. Web of Intrigue is 45% off. It's just $13.74. You can get Irredeemable from our buddy Mark Waid and Peter Krause. This is also Eduardo Barreto is in there, or is it his son? It might be his son. Forgive me. I forget Eduardo's son's name. There we go. Diego Barreto. Shame on me. With a great John Cassidy cover, though. This is the Premier Edition hardcover, Volume 3. It's 30% off, just $20.99 for Irredeemable. You can get Volume 5 of the classic run of Suicide Squad. This includes our friend John K. Snyder as the artist. Man, really neat stuff going back to the 80s and the original Suicide run. Luke McDonald is also included in there, some Luke McDonald art. But it's Volume 5, Apocalypse Now. Well, you can do the math and figure out who's going to be part of that story. But it's 45% off, just $10.99. You can get Spider-Gwen, Volume 2, A Weapon of Choice. That's Jason Latour and our buddy Robbie Rodriguez, both our buddies. That is 45% off, $8.79. How about the Punisher trade paperback, On the Road? That is Becky Cloonan and the late, great Steve Dillon together, collecting Punisher 1 through 6. It's 50% off, just $8.99. You get these books and more at InStockTrades.com. Don't forget, if your orders are $50 or more, you'll receive free shipping. Do yourself a favor, go there today and start saving money it's a great way to make a last-minute Christmas present, or if you're listening to this after Christmas and you find yourself with some spending cash that Nana or some favorite aunt or uncle or even your parents gave you money to blow, a great place to do it, InStockTrades.com. All right, let's get our conversation started now with Neal Holman. It's a pleasure to welcome him back. I can't believe how long it was. We talked about it at the very start of the conversation, so I'll let Neal guilt me. But, man, I'll tell you, Art of Archer looks great, and very excited for Redlines as well. And you will be, too, after you hear this conversation with Neal Holman on Word Balloon. It's been forever since I've spoken to Neal Holman.
It's been almost a decade, yeah.
Has it really been that long?
It's been like 8 years, I think.
I think you're right.
I haven't actually gone to look it up, but at least 7 years.
Well, welcome back to Word Balloon.
Thanks, man. It's really great to be back.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. And seriously, I'm glad you contacted me and told me about your various projects that you got going on. But
yeah, actually, you were when they were asking like what websites and podcasts we want to reach out to. You were on the top of my list. Like, you know who I love talking to? John Suntress.
That's very nice, man. I genuinely appreciate that. That's
the velvety voice of comics.
Yeah, but you don't need me, man. Jesus Christ, Archer kicking ass.
That's not true.
7th season wrapped up. You're in production for season 8.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is. Had you asked me when we talked way back in season 1 if we would go 8 seasons, I think I probably would have laughed, or I would have said something like, "Oh, well, I'll be dead before then." But
and also
yeah, it's crazy.
When they moved you to FXX, and I watched a shit ton of FXX, so
right.
I guess it's okay. But yeah, that's kind of. All of a sudden...
Technically, we haven't moved to FXX yet. They talked about it last season, but then at the last second, they put us back on FX proper. And this season, they're saying again that we're going to go to FXX, but I also don't know if that's been officially confirmed.
Okay.
So I still don't know. I still don't know which way we're going.
Oh, that's good, man. And there you go.
But FXX is actually doing really well. So wherever we end up, we'll be happy.
Yeah, and honestly, I guess the line even blurs for me because, like I said, I thought for sure I was watching it on FXX, but
everybody watches it through DVR. Like I mean, that's the way I watch 90% of my television. So, I mean, if you ask me what channel, other than like HBO, if you ask me what channel some of these shows that I watch come on, I'd be hard pressed to tell you.
Well, that's the world we live in right now, absolutely. And I imagine streaming.
Yeah, no,
I imagine streaming is doing well for you guys, as through Netflix and the like. Am I correct?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. It has done very well on FX or on Netflix, and now FX has their own app that's out, and it's done pretty well on that as well.
Very cool. And you're here to talk about a book that you are a big part of, and that is The Art of Archer.
Yeah, it's a book we talked about doing for a long time, and then we finally decided to pull the trigger. HarperCollins, sort of a deal was broached between HarperCollins and FX, and the timing worked out. We decided we'd put this art book out, and I'm really happy with the way it came together, and the printing on it is really awesome. Like sometimes you don't know how the final product is going to look once it's all printed up, and I'm super proud of it. I think it looks great. I think it's cool and it's unique, and it's not just a bunch of pretty pictures. The art of Archer is much more about the figurative art and the process of how we make the show, not just the pretty pictures. It's really, at its core, it's kind of a love note to our crew, which is what I wanted to do.
That's awesome, man. Yeah,
man,
absolutely. Go on.
I dig it. I'm rare to toot my own horn, but I really love it.
I got to tell you, man, it looks fantastic. And you just sent me the PDF, and I told you even before we started recording, I'm like, hey, if I didn't already say yes to a hard copy, I'm saying it now because it does. It's gorgeous, man. And the visuals absolutely pop from even the PDF that you send me, and it's a big PDF, so it looks like it's good resolution and everything. But like you say, I mean, this is everything. This is like from the pitch to the kind of pilot idea, character design, and it's great. And you talk
and
to
some ugly character designs in there too. Like we didn't really shy away from All right. Well, this is where Archer. This is our first design of Archer, and he looked like a serial killer. Like we didn't shy away from showing our mistakes, and I think you can see there's a lot more comparisons between early seasons and seasons now that I had in there that I ended up cutting, but there's still some of it in there to show how we've grown as a production, how the show, if you look at the pilot compared to where we are now, it's a much different beast. So yeah, it's got everything in there. It's got, and it has the interviews with our cast,
yes,
and interviews with even Kevin Kinney, who was integral to the country music in season 5. So it's got a lot of stuff. It even covers the DVD shorts, which a lot of people haven't seen.
Yeah. At the end, and appropriately in the extras section of the book and everything. That's great.
The anime porn one is a big hit.
Well, also when you go back to those character designs, those photographs that are at the bottom and stuff of headshots. Now, were those the original models for the characters and stuff? Because that's really
those were the original models. We did that pilot in a shitty house in East Atlanta, where we had that's where we animated Frisky Dingo as well.
Yes.
And so we hired these models to come in, and I think they were super creeped out to go to this neighborhood in this crappy little house. And walk in, there's like 9 dorky dudes ready to take pictures of them in wigs. And the photos are not flattering. They're used to these nice model shoots with fans blowing their hair all around, and we're just making them say the alphabet and make silly faces, So eventually they got into it, but when they first got there, you could definitely see the hesitancy in their eyes of what have I gotten myself into.
They probably felt like they were about to be rolled, and you guys are going to beat them with a sign.
Yeah, completely.
Like absolutely.
Completely. I mean, that pilot was made by 9 dudes in a house, It wasn't like it was this huge production. It was, we were just trying to make a show and by the skin of our teeth.
So was that the original, obviously it was the original, place you guys were making, like you said, Frisky Dingo, and did Sea Lab,
Frisky Dingo, we moved there when exactly. We moved there right at the start of Frisky Dingo. Right as Sea Lab went down, we sort of moved out of this loft that we were in to this house that Matt and Adam bought. And I'm pretty sure the neighborhood thought we were like drug dealers, because there's cars in and out of this house. Mr. Ford, our neighbor, came over and knocked on the door. And, what's going on here?
Guys, got a meth lab happening here.
Yeah, exactly, and that's how we got to meet Mr. Ford. I mean, he became a character on the show because he was such a character in life. Like he is.
That's fantastic.
And I'm fairly certain he would just sit on his porch and play the saxophone. And then every now and then you look out and there's 3 more people that had a brass band going. He was an amazing man. I love Mr. Ford.
Is he aware of his contribution to the show?
Oh yeah. I mean, we paid him for his voice acting.
Oh, okay. That really was him. Wow. Oh,
yeah, that's him. The character, it looks like him. It was based on him. It's his voice acting in the booth.
That's great.
He would always pronounce exticles as exticles. It was just, there are a million Mr. Ford stories, a lot of which I probably shouldn't share, but he's just amazing, and he's near and dear to me.
That's outstanding. That's funny. My favorite cast member really is Jessica Walters, because she is such a rock.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we talked about her for the first time we talked 8 years ago, but I just heard her on Gilbert Gottfried's podcast with Ron Liebman, her husband. And
who is also awesome. Yeah.
Have you guys you have to have had him on. I'm sure you've had him on.
Yeah, he was so Mallory got married to Ron Cadillac, and he was voiced by Ron Liebman. I think that was season season 4.
Oh, that's awesome, man! I'm
is
going
when
to
that
dive
started.
back. That's great. Oh, Jesus, he is.
And he was perfect, and the two of them together just play off each other really, really well.
The guy,
but yeah, she's amazing, and she's just a sweet person as
cool.
well. I can't sing her praises enough.
Well, and 8 seasons in now, I mean, it's like, yeah, like this is as big on her resume as Play Misty for me, or any great single.
I wouldn't
film.
go that far,
well, dude. 8 years.
But,
I mean, but she's shown. I mean, it's the same chops that she showed obviously on Arrested Development as well. But that's the thing, man.
Right,
I mean, she's really like this double threat of drama and comedy. I mean, she really can do it all.
She can do anything she wants. And that's the best part of Mallory's character, is that when she needs to get dramatic and heartfelt, she does it. And when she needs to throw a snappy one-liner, she can do that too. Even if it's just a sound of utter contempt, she's great.
That's cool.
She's, having an actor like that in your arsenal helps your show considerably.
I got to see, she wasn't there, but I did get to see Archer live. A couple years ago. Yeah, when they did the tour. Yeah, they came to Chicago, and God, it was pretty much it was everybody. Parnell was there. I'm trying to think. I don't think Judy Greer was there.
It was probably Parnell, Aisha Tyler. Was John Benjamin there? Or no?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, John was there. And I always forget his name. Damn it.
Lucky Yates.
Yeah, Lucky. Exactly. Lucky Yates. How do you forget a name like Lucky Yates? Shame on me.
Lucky Yates and Amber Nash are our secret weapons. They were our improv actors here in Atlanta, and so we knew them through Dad's Garage, which is the improv group here. And they both did voices on Frisky Dingo, and I think they may have done voices on C-Lab too. So we've known them for a long time, and they are awesome. They are always game to do whatever, and they come in with a smile and go full bore into it. It's awesome.
That's cool. And they certainly showed it when they were doing the stuff on stage, and it was around the Archer version of C-Lab cliffhanger and everything.
Yeah.
That was
Lucky. Did Lucky host?
Yes,
Normally
he did.
He's the audience warm-up guy.
Yep.
Yeah, that is a job tailor-made for Lucky. He's a perfect host of those events. I think a ringmaster of so to speak.
Absolutely, no apt description, because it was fantastic. They were really funny, and they kept it moving, and everyone there had a blast, and it was just a really good time watching them. It was like watching a radio play, in action and stuff. It was fun. And by the way, go ahead.
No, I was going to say our producers, Casey Willis, who's our co-executive producer, and Eric Sims, and Matt Thompson as well, do a lot of work to sort of bring those to the stage. And I think it's done fairly well.
Do they still do it?
I'm not sure if they're going to do it this year or not. They've got some contract stuff going on, from what I recall. And also, they did it for a couple of years, and they sort of are taking stock of if they're going to do it again, what they would do differently, things like that.
Sure.
But actually, I have not asked, so that's me talking out of turn. I really couldn't say for sure which way that's going to go.
Okay. And as you say, I mean, well, you guys are wrapping up season 8 and everything, and which is amazing.
Yeah, season 8. We just started pre-production on episode 6 of season 8, and there are 8 episodes this season. It's a shorter season than what we normally do, just to give Adam some time to do other things. I think as we're getting towards the later seasons, he wants to a little more. Like, he was writing 13 episodes a year, so by himself, which is, if you think about that in terms of page count, how many pages of television he's writing a year, and do the math on it, it's crazy. So to do 8 episodes rather than 13 is a little bit easier on him. He can actually have a life, which is good.
Is an animation script longer or shorter than a live action script?
It depends. Adam's scripts run about 35 pages for a 22-minute show.
Yeah, Jesus.
But that said, but his dialogue is really fast. And there's, if you look at what happens on screen, what you hear on screen, I'd say 98% of that is Adam's writing. He writes very conversational and it's very quick, if that makes any sense.
It does. I just talked to James Tucker in October, who does the DC animation stuff, and I was asking him to compare that Adam West animated movie, Return of the Cape Crusader, to like the Lego movies. And he said, oh, my God, the Lego movies, obviously, especially given that, you're writing for that 7-year-old audience as well. It's like zip, 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 which I think is interesting. But, yeah, the jokes are just, a mile a minute and stuff. And, yeah, you guys got snappy patter going on. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's rarely are you going to see a line of dialogue that goes over a sentence. If it goes to 3 sentences, that must be somebody's monologue.
Okay.
Normally, it's really, really fast. But it's not Gilmore Girls fast like a machine gun that you can't even follow. Well, at least I know people love that show, and I'm going to get all sorts of shit now. But
I haven't watched it.
I'm sure it's great. It's not for me.
I understand. Bendis loves that show.
I know. Bendis loves it. Kevin Mellon loves it.
I was going to ask, how is our buddy Kevin Mellon?
Oh, he's good. He's good. He does some storyboards in his free time for Vampire Diaries. He just released an album. Kevin is a man of many talents.
I didn't know that. That's fantastic. That's excellent.
He released an album. It's new. It's in the past 3 months or so, but it's out. If people look Kevin up on Twitter, you can find all of his art. Suicide Sisters is his main book that people can get, and then he's got an album out now that it's really good. I know I'm his friend, and people won't believe me, but no, it's like a legitimate. All right, way to go, dude.
He's a Renaissance man. I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very, very cool.
When your friend says, "Hey, listen to my album that I made," that's going to go one of two ways.
Yes, you're right.
Thankfully, it went the better one.
That's fantastic. No, I'm glad. Was it last year that the tree fell on him?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, it was actually around this time last year, I think.
My God. All right, there you go. Yes?
It was like one of those weekends or weeks where it had been raining for 4 or 5 days straight. Just like that, not like sheets of rain, but just like that piddling rain that just saturates the ground.
Sure.
And his roommate was at the time was a good friend of mine. She called me and said, "Hey, I Kevin's okay, but a tree fell on our house and it's on top of him, and I'm trying to get in touch with his parents. Do you know his parents? Can you call them?" I'm like, I don't know. And so I found his uncle on Facebook and emailed him, told him the situation, and please call me. He got in touch with me. Meanwhile, me and Justin Wagner, our other storyboard supervisor on the show, went down, and I don't know what I was really expecting, but this tree is like as wide as a car and just demolished. Just flattened his bedroom, and it landed just on his bedroom.
Wow.
So, yeah, man, if you can get him, you should interview him for Wordblow and get him to tell you the story. He has a lot more details on it. But
I have a feeling, yeah, really.
And he was fine. That was the crazy thing. Like in the ER, the doctors and nurses kept coming in to check on him, like, "You're a miracle. Like, you should not be alive." Like, I want to shake your hand just in case some of this luck rubs off on me, because this is crazy.
That's fantastic. That's cool. Because I remember.
But he's doing well.
Yeah, I just read on Twitter. That whole ordeal, and it's like, oh my God, dude. And I'm like, I hope you're okay. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right. Jesus Christ, what are the odds?
And he was watching Jupiter Ascending.
Well, he deserved it. Come on, that's
so when he
came
back to work,
man.
When he came back to work, there was a Blu-ray of Jupiter Ascending on his desk.
Oh man, poor Steve Scroach.
But man, you should have him on the show. He's
it's been a
much better interview than I am.
No, he's been on a couple times. It's been a while.
Yes?
Yeah, when Suicide Sisters came out, I had him on, and also when he
good.
when he did the comic with with and I always want to say Brett Butler, but that's not right. The girl who used to be on the woman that used to be on the Attack of the Show.
Blair
Butler.
Is it Blair Butler?
Yeah, Blair Butler. That's right.
Yeah, was that Heart? Is that
Yes,
what that
it was Heart.
Was called?
It was called
Yeah,
Heart.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it was fun. It was fun, and then I think that was either to talk Suicide Sisters or Heart is the last time that he came on. But
cool.
I'll check in with him. All right, well, let's get back to the Art of Archer because another thing,
right,
although Kevin certainly is a part of that, being one of those.
No, screw that guy. He's a jerk. He's terrible.
Honestly, what's great about books like this is you really do appreciate the minutia, and it's not fair to call it minutia, but really just the designs of the interiors, the buildings, the cars.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man. I mean, you really do appreciate this in the book, and I'm just a sucker for that aesthetic that you even say in the interviews that you're a part of when you said, you really wanted this 60s comic book look. And just the choices of, the space stations, the underwater stations, the futuristic looking buildings and stuff it really is that like great Saturday morning super spy cartoon dream, that luckily doesn't end because you got 8 seasons of it right now with Archer.
The designs are, we sort of say we design down to the doorknobs because that specificity sort of adds the details to the show. Like if you're looking at a 1960s room, but then you start to look at even the lighting and the ceiling pocket lighting or the light fixtures are too modern, it could actually take you out of the aesthetic. So you have to really pay attention to the details, and that's to the shape of the monitors. And a space station need to be more like those bubbly monitors from the 60s and 70s, but at the same time they need to be a 16:9 HD ratio so that it plays within our show format. So there are a lot of stuff you need to sort of keep in mind to keep it. You can't just do a tone poem to the 60s. You got to make your own thing.
Sure.
But it's really exciting. And this upcoming season 8, is all in the 1940s, 1947 specifically.
Oh, fantastic! So, I wonder where that's going to in 1947.
Oh man, it's so we get to do all the noir stuff that we've talked about doing for 7 seasons. Now we're in season 8, where you can actually do these big, dark, inky shadows, and the shadows from the Venetian blinds and all the sort of noir stuff that we've been trying to talk about, but sometimes it wouldn't really fit with that 1960s vibe. The downside to it is like our whole library of awesome cars that we've built over 7 seasons is now completely unusable. So
that's true.
It's like a brand new series. Like it is a ton of work.
What kind
of visually,
man? That's gonna be fun though. All those cars and everything from the 40s.
Oh yeah,
a lot of work, like you said, but
it's a lot of work. But it's also you start to appreciate a whole new era of history. Like I was never a super muscle car guy from 60s and 70s. I had to learn that on the fly. That was more Adam Reed's love for muscle cars. And I had to be a pretty quick study. We all did. But now it's a different chapter to study. So it's been cool. And some of those 40s cars, man, they're pretty rad.
Yeah, I always watch those shows on, I forget now if it's I think it's the History Channel, although it's really, well, it kind of is history, but like, the counting cars and stuff, and people, I got a 1952 Hudson I want to bring in and refurb, and you're, these car makes that don't exist anymore, and God, completely. They're beautiful. They're really amazing looking cars.
Yeah, and it's an 1947's odd part of history, because car manufacturing basically just came to a halt during the war. So, manufacturing is just now sort of kicking back into gear.
Are there Tuckers? Are there Tuckers in the show?
Yeah, I think we've got one. They're not. I think we got one.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
If we don't, this is episode 6. I'll sneak one in by episode 8. I'm sure. Now that I've said, yeah, we've definitely got him. Yeah, sure. Okay, maybe episode 8.
That's crazy, man. I noticed too. Obviously, you guys are in the midst of rerunning this year's season, season 7, and this is the Russian season, right? This was, I mean, I know it's like the '60s aesthetic, but isn't that kind of good timing with, unfortunately, what's happening as the Cold War heats up again?
As the Cold War comes rushing back to the forefront. Yeah, it is crazier and crazier. And, there's literally, before we started this interview, there's a report from NBC News that Vladimir Putin was directly involved in the hacking of the U.S. election.
Excellent.
And et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, great, awesome.
Use this email, and what's important in this email? Very good. Yeah, man.
It's going to be so weird.
Yeah, I'm with you. Sadly, I'm with you. And it's, we all shake our heads. But here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Again. So, well, again, great news for the Cold War parodists and everything.
Yeah, no kidding.
Your shit's relevant again. Amp up the Soviet shit. It's back.
We got to get out of the 1940s and just go back to being spies against Russia. Who knew?
Exactly, man. Jesus Christ. That's well. Oh well. I'm looking forward to 47. This is gonna be fun, man. The season 8 is gonna be cool.
It is a visually stunning season. What I've seen so far, I think. We try to raise the bar every season. Between seasons, we always take stock of kind of like what worked and what didn't. How can we sort of improve our animation, especially in our character rigs and our vehicle rigs? So we sort of learned a lot over 7 seasons, and now with season 8, a lot of things are coming to fruition in terms of production. I think people are going to really dig it. It's an awesome looking season so far.
Outstanding,
and it's funny, but
well, yeah, you got that going for you. That's cool. Now, do you guys record audio first and then do the visuals? How does it work in terms of?
It's a different process. Most animated series, that's the way of it, where you record your audio, then you storyboard your audio, and you move forward. Because of the nature of our schedules, Adam writes a script. It goes to the producers and the art directors. Our producers, will take it and start casting and booking VO sessions. Meanwhile, we're storyboarding and designing. So audio and visual, the 2 tracks are working concurrently with each other.
Okay. So as you said, you've got they've already recorded then episodes for season 8?
No, like by the time we are done storyboarding, they are done recording that episode, and it gets smacked together into an animatic, and that's where we figure out if our guesswork and storyboards matches what the audio comes in. And there's a little bit of going backward and doing some fixes and some ads, but that's only like a day or 2. So then once we're done with those storyboards, the next script is ready, and we'll start storyboarding that. They'll start recording that while the rest of the production starts building that previous episode.
From an
acting
standpoint, yeah, it does. No, absolutely.
So we have like 4 episodes in production at a time, various stages. So some are being written, some are being storyboarded and recorded, some are being built, some are in final animation.
Because of the nature of the dialogue, are the actors able to work together, or is everyone still kind of,
It's all separate. I mean, they're all apart. Their schedules are so busy.
Sure.
They're all over the map. So we patch into their headsets and record them through there.
Oh, do they all have like ISDNs at home or whatever studios?
A couple of them do, but for the most part, we'll find a recording studio near wherever they are. I mean, sometimes they're on location somewhere, so we'll have to do some digging. But we've got relationships with more than a few recording studios now, so it works out.
Sure, absolutely. I was just wondering. I mean, like you said, that is like the norm, having everybody separate and everything, but I just wondered if there's a possibility with some of these shows and where they're located, and
we always talk about it, and we always talk about like recording our audio first, and we're going to have this nice lengthy schedule. And it's just never happened in my entire career. I've never been able to storyboard the audio. We've never had people in the booth together. It has not worked out much as we've tried.
Are you guys, because of I don't know if you call it an irregular schedule or whatever, but like our deadline's a pain in the ass, are you guys doing kind of overtime and crazy hours and shit?
It depends on the season, but this season, because we're doing less episodes, we haven't hit into OT yet.
Good.
The last 2 episodes are always ones that are always bigger episodes, so it's a bigger mountain to climb. And that also, by that point, any pad in our schedule is gone. So those episodes are generally where crunch time occurs. But so far this year, knock on wood, we've been okay. Earlier seasons, I always remember season 5 as the nightmare season. Just like anything that could go wrong, went wrong. Yeah, just like a million things went wrong. We had to move studios in the middle of the season just because of the way our leases worked, and we were moving to a new building. Then when we did the move, we had all sorts of server problems and tech problems. Then we had some deadlines move. We also had some other projects starting to land, which is great, but that means you got to shift staff to that, and then you got to train new staff. And it was a rough year for the staff. So I always remember that season as just like a nightmare. And then I've watched it recently, and thankfully, like, it's still a good season. I still think it's a good season of television.
That's awesome. Are there currently more than Archer shows being produced for Floyd County right now?
Yes, there's a lot of little things in production, and then there's some other bigger things in the wings that are about to move forward, that none of which I can actually talk about. But
okay,
it is exciting times for sure.
Well, hey, then obviously let's not let 8 years go by when the exciting big stuff,
no kidding.
When the big stuff gets promoted. No, please come back. Obviously. Then, and what else was I going to ask regarding that? Let's see. So deadlines, and he said no. It's been smooth. Obviously with less episodes. I'm trying to think. I had a good question for you, and now it escapes me. All right. So, all right. That totally derailed me. I'll have to think for a second.
Sorry, buddy. Just cut this part out.
No, exactly. Editing's my friend. It's all right. No. Yeah, I guess back to the book. The book is out now.
Book is out now. Yeah, it is in your bookstores. It's at HarperCollins website. It's at FX website, at Amazon, of course. So get it wherever you want to get it, but try to support your local shops, please.
Yeah, and just in time, this will come out before the holiday and everything. So, if for the Archer fan in your life, truly, I'm not kidding. It's a great book. It really is a great book. It's gorgeous. And it is this like all-encompassing. Absolutely, man. No, it's great, and it really does cover all aspects of production. There are script snippets in there. I know what I was going to ask you too. Again, season 8, and you say it's less episodes and stuff. Is it is Adam having? Is it tough? I mean, when you've gone to the well so many times. I mean, are there still great ideas? The fact that you're doing 1940 shows, that's a really great thing. Is would it be possible? Beyond, for future, could you see future seasons exploring other eras and things?
Adam keeps his cards pretty close to the chest as to what he has planned for future seasons, but we have 8, 9, and 10 for sure coming, and then he has said that he's like, I think I might end it after 10, but I don't think I'll believe it when I see it. That guy doesn't just stop having ideas.
That's great, man. Jesus Christ. Seriously, because
10 seasons, that's crazy, right?
Well, yeah, and it flies in the face of, kid animation and, like we were talking earlier, DC animation, I mentioned it before, and, you hear about how an audience absolutely wanted, back in the day, more seasons of Justice League, when it was so good.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, the powers that be were so, you know something, for the Y7 audience, you make you make 52 episodes, that's plenty. If you get to even that, 26 episodes might be enough. And then, you know, you move on to the next idea, and too goddamn bad if people want more. That's just the way it is. And Jesus, man, 10 seasons, that's a guarantee with FX or whatever?
Yeah, that's with FX.
Fantastic.
And, you know,
that's
FX
great.
has been, you know, they have stood by us, and they have always, even in the early seasons when our ratings weren't great, but we got, thankfully, we got some good critical reviews. So, but FX has always stood behind us and been incredibly supportive. So it's a lot of this is also to FX's credit for sticking with us and not just cutting and running. You know, I think it would have been easy to give up on us, and they didn't.
Well, you know, the leap from, you know, C-Lab to Frisky Dingo to Archer is evident when you watch them side by side. Yeah, and I really do think that it's the aesthetic of Archer that really does make it stand out, and it's distinct, and it's so it did take a couple seasons for, you know, people to catch up, and
I think it did. I think it also took 2 seasons for us to really get our footing behind production, to iron out all the kinks. You know, when we started the show at season 1, even I think when I talked to you during season 1, we were still kind of making up a lot of this as we go, as far as how we did production. First season, we didn't even have a person in charge of HR for the company, you know, like just trying to figure out how to be a company versus not just making a show. Because we went from a staff of 9 to that first season to a staff of like 40. Now on Archer, just Archer, there's a staff of about 70. At Floyd County, there's a staff total of about 100 and 110 around there. So, you know, we've grown and grown, and we've sort of had to learn how to become a company and have an employee handbook, you know, and a social media policy, and, you know, things like actual corporations do, which is, you know, as from my standpoint, has been kind of neat to see, to go from this sort of fledgling company to we actually have our shit together now. And in terms of the show, that's also we are much more organized now than we ever have been. So I think it really took 2 seasons for us to kind of figure out our animation process and really what we're doing. I think episode 211, when they went to Monte Carlo, that Formula One episode, always stands out in my mind of like, that was when it clicked for me of like, yeah, we actually know what we're doing now. We're not just barely making it to the finish line. We're cranking. And that's since awesome. Then it's just gotten better every year. Story wise, for me, when I really felt like we are doing something crazy different than any other show, was the cancer episodes in season 2. That's where I felt like Adam sort of said to the world, like, this is not just your average show. You know, this is something new.
Absolutely. Jesus, you mentioned the Monte Carlo one, though, and it's so funny. I literally just finished watching the Steve McQueen Le Mans documentary. It's on Amazon.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and I wondered, did you guys go back to like Grand Prix and Le Mans and watch any of that?
Absolutely. We would Grand Prix especially. I watched a ton of it, and then I watched. Yeah. There's some behind the scenes footage of them just driving around Monte Carlo with a camera mounted to it. Just it's insanely fast.
Yes.
I cannot believe it looks stupidly dangerous.
Well, yeah, and then same goes for Le Mans. If you haven't seen that, you know, McQueen documentary, they have a lot.
No, I haven't seen that
behind the scenes footage. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And you know, it's funny. I also remember, in contrast to that, Yves Montand, I guess, really was nervous driving. So, like, you know, I think for his scenes, they had a camera mounted on his thing.
People die.
He's doing like 25
time.
miles or what's that?
Because people die all the time. I'd be nervous as shit too.
That's true. That's fair.
Yeah,
it's very fair.
If I was that guy.
No, those are great. Both movies I'm a huge fan of. And it had been a while since I've seen Le Mans. I saw Grand Prix. They just showed it again over the summer on Turner.
Starring Jessica Walter.
Indeed. That's true. Holy shit. That's funny because really, and yeah, she's a baby in that. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. She's
hot
super
too.
young now. Mm-hmm.
I was thinking I saw her in a great little movie, Bye Bye Braverman, with
Oh yeah.
with George Segal and a ton of great character actors. I want to say Jack Warden's in it and everything. But yeah, it's a great New York little movie and stuff. And yeah, literally just like Grand Prix. I mean, total like ingenue time for Jessica Walters and stuff. Great stuff, man. You know? And of course,
awesome.
and I know we mentioned it, I think the first time we talked, her wonderful performance as Morgan Le Fay in the first Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah. How about that?
You know
it. That's it. If I had told high school me that I was gonna like meet Jessica Walter one day, that kid would not have ever believed it.
That's awesome, man. No, that's really cool. And yeah, honestly, everybody, I love Aisha's podcast. I think she's great.
Oh, Girl and Guy, yeah, and she's awesome.
Yeah, man. No, she is. I mean, seriously, everything she does, she is really ridiculously beautiful and really ridiculously smart and cool, and it totally comes through.
She's very genuine. I don't really interact with the voice talent that much, and she's always nothing but kind, and just a very genuine person and very whip smart. Like
that's great.
She's the real deal, and then you hear her on Girl and Guy, and she holds her own and carries her own show. She has like 100 jobs, man. I don't know how she has the time. And all of our cast is on that level. I don't know how we got this lucky, but I'm not asking questions.
And that everybody stayed too, because I mean, God, Judy Greer's only become a bigger and bigger star as her career continues.
I don't think any of our cast actually need to be making our show. They do it because they like it.
That's fantastic.
Judy especially, is this huge mega movie star. So, yeah. And Judy,
her live action FX show, of course.
Yeah,
that's still
absolutely.
going on or not? But yeah, it was really
no.
Fun,
I think it ended last year.
Oh, that's too bad. That and did you see the Comedians, the one with Billy Crystal and?
Yeah, I saw a few episodes of it. I didn't regularly watch it, but
I watched the whole thing. Bettis and I talked about it. Bettis was like, yeah, and I'm like, I got to be honest, man. I agree that it had Josh Gad is the co-star for people who don't know,
right?
And it was an interesting idea, and it got better as the season moved on, and I really thought it was like, all right, they had the first season kind of like you just said about Archer. You gotta figure out the show. And sometimes it does take more than a season to really figure out like everything and shake it down and get it, good. So I was kind of disappointed.
Anytime somebody says, "Oh, I just watched the pilot and then I gave up on it," like you can't just watch it one episode, especially not the first episode, and expect it to be gold. You got to give it some time to find its footing. So I'm glad to hear it sort of turned it around toward the end of the season. Yeah.
Yeah, but unfortunately, but FX didn't, I think, greenlight a second season, as far as I understand it.
Oh well, I knew.
What are you gonna do?
I knew that. I think I did know that actually, that they weren't going to a second season. But that's the way it goes. It's
it's TV.
It's peak TV, as they say. So
yes, yeah. Well, and again, that's what's cool about Archer. My God, it flies in the face of that, and is 8 seasons strong and guaranteed 10. That's fantastic because. There's too much TV. I mean, I'm sure there are shows that you've had recommended to you that you haven't been able to get to yet.
Oh yeah, I mean, there are tons. Mr. Robot's sitting in my queue.
Me too.
Just waiting for me to watch it, and I know it's great. Everybody says it's great. Says it's awesome. I've avoided spoilers, but I just have not had time to get to it.
Well, let's move on to. Go ahead. I was going to say let's move on to Redlines. Your comic book that comes out in March.
I have a comic book coming out. That's so crazy to actually say.
Man. Yes,
and not say it as a preposterous joke. Yeah, it's a real comic book, John.
So is this an ongoing? Is this a limited series? What's the plan for Redline?
It's a limited series. It's 5 issues coming out from Oni Press. So it'll come out, I think, in the first week of March is when the first issue lands. And, if it does well, I have plans for another arc or three. But if it tanks, or if we can't do it with Clay McCormick and Kelly Fitzpatrick, the artists on the book, then, that first arc is a one and done arc. It'll stand on its own 2 feet. So I have other plans, but, if it's just these 5 issues, I still think it'll be a good series.
Cool. Give me the elevator pitch on Redlines.
Oh, boy. It's a military noir. I hate these things. It's a military noir, and it's set on Mars. So they're just from the terrain perspective, there are a lot of parallels to modern day conflicts in the Middle East with our military.
Absolutely.
There.
Yes.
So, the ground eye view is a story following a Office of Special Investigations agent, Denton Coyle, which is like the Air Force's version of NCIS. So he's an OSI agent, and a bomb blows up, and the wrong people are blamed, and he tries to right that wrong. That's sort of the ground level view. But if you take a step back and go to the macro view, there are broader themes about, conquest and war and human history, and our sort of patterns that can be seen. Plus some jokes.
Yes, and I felt the parallels between the Middle East and Mars in this case, and the visuals look great, and it is funny, and it's a good beginning. You sent me the first issue. It comes out in March.
Yeah. I think it's the first week of March. It'll go into solicits at the end of December. So I think starting December 28th, people can go to their stores and pre-order it. So
that's cool.
Look for it. It's from Oni Press.
It's from Oni. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Is there any sort of preview online or anything like that, or as far as images or anything that people can see?
There was a preview Bleeding Cool put out a few months ago, and I think Comic Book Resources may have an article coming out soon. I'm not sure if it's out right now as we speak, but it may be out by the time this podcast is released.
And who are your artists again?
Clay McCormick is the penciler and inker, and Kelly Fitzpatrick is the colorist, and Crank's doing the letters on it.
Chris Crank, our old friend.
Yeah.
That's very cool. But how'd you get Kelly? Yeah, how'd you get Kelly and Chris? How'd you find them?
Clay came through. Kelly and Clay both came through Oni suggestions. I was not really aware of either of them, although they've both done tons of work. Clay worked with Sean Gordon Murphy you remember when Sean Gordon Murphy had like a house where he was teaching artists for like a year or something?
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of his students. Yes.
Yeah. So Clay was one of those guys.
Cool.
So he was in Cafe Racer and then has done some other work. And so when I saw his samples, he has some of Sean Gordon Murphy's isms, but also like I think his acting is really good. I think his inks are really. He was just the right fit from the first sample that I saw, to the point where James Jones, the editor in chief, was asking like, "Do you want him to do a test?" I'm like, "No, why? We both like him. Let's just give him the job if he wants it, and go from there." And Clay, he's been a really perfect fit for me. It was I just swore to myself that I would not be art director guy on this book, because that's a danger, that's what I do in my day job, is to just look at art and nitpick it. And what I wanted to do with this book is just to try to write it and only speak up if I saw something that was either not going to work as well with what we had with the story, or if I saw something that was kind of hurting the page. And always I was offering them those critiques as suggestions more than this has to change. I was just very nervous that I was going to overstep my bounds there, just because that's my day job,
I hear you, man.
And Clay, to his credit, was super receptive to any note and was more asking me like, "Are you sure you want? Come on, give it to me. Give me the hard stuff."
Sure.
And
Well, honestly,
Kelly
go
came
ahead.
in
Talk about Kelly.
on colors, and just from page one, man, she's just crushing it. She's using a really limited palette on it that I think adds a lot to the book. I think there are some books out there that I won't name that just over render everything, just using every little trick that they can do. And by sort of limiting her palette, I think Kelly's done something really unique to the book, and it's very fitting.
I think the storytelling from an art standpoint is very clear, and from a story standpoint. And it feels like Mars. I also like these kinds of books where I mean, I'm a sucker for any astronaut book. You had me at hello, but I also like the second wave of, all right, we're on the planet, we've established enough, and when you reach this military sort of level of colonization or whatever, basically just kind of taking over the planet and discovering what might be left over from the previous civilization that was there. So I think that's a fun place to set a story. And again, the analogies to today's military are very clear, but it also works really well as a science fiction mystery. So it's quite good.
Yeah. The thing, thanks, man. The thing that I really didn't want to get into is the inside baseball of, like, how do they breathe? What about the air? Like, we're terraforming it. Don't worry about that. What about the physics? No, I don't want to spend time explaining the minutia of their day-to-day life. That's not storytelling,
Yeah.
And the other thing, because it's a sort of noirish detective book at its, when you boil it really down to its principles, I wanted to avoid the thought captions, that sort of storytelling technique that a lot of comics do, just because when I first started writing the script, that's what I was doing, is like, that inner monologue caption text. And it just became a sea of text. And anytime I read a book that's just a text all over the place, it's kind of a roadblock for me and when I pick up comics. So I made a conscious effort to not do that, and then the story is told just through dialogue, and I try not to do a whole lot of exposition dumps, not big paragraphs of text. Although there is one big exposition dump on those in the first issue, and that's basically it from there on. And, it's coming in on the middle of a story, and you can figure out the details sort of on your own rather than just explaining, how did we get there? What was the first civilization?
Sure.
Explaining every little history of it. I like hinting at history rather than just giving you the full story.
Yeah, I honestly, I didn't feel lost. I think it's clear. And
cool.
No, I like it. I think, again, I like these kinds of sci-fi mysteries and things, and it's that's really cool. I just talked to Kyle Higgins, and his is more of an astronaut book, and kind of a murder on a space station kind of thing. But
neat.
No, yeah. But
what's the name of that book?
That is Hadrian's Wall, and from Image. And neat book and everything. No, I'm kind of glad that sci-fi is beyond the license stuff. It's nice to see original sci-fi ideas still out there, and people are still finding new things to say. So I like Redlines a lot, and it's from Oni, and it comes out in March. But as you say, you can order it and should order it at the end of this month. So go to your retailer and pull out that diamond catalog, and also look for those articles on Bleeding Cool in CBR. To give you a better more in-depth.
And, I'll be probably obnoxiously tweeting about it once it actually hits solicits, so you can look me up on Twitter. And
what's your handle on Twitter?
At Neal Holman, and Neal is spelled Neal.
Yes,
so I try not to be obnoxious about self-promoting, but at some point you got to do it.
Oh, yeah, man. I hear you.
We'll start a full court press pretty soon.
Very cool. That's awesome. Well, as we're slipping into the end of the year and everything, tell me about 2016. I know you're busy with the show, but what have you read? What have you watched that you like this year?
Oh man, let's get into it. What have I watched? I really enjoyed Westworld.
Me too.
I know people have their gripes, and I get it. At the same time, that is a gorgeous show, and the acting and directing on it was phenomenal.
Did you see SNL, though? Did you see SNL? I have to admit, because I really loved it, too. But when Claire McCaskill was playing Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, and she's just like, man, that Westworld, boy, that was pretty nihilistic, even for us. It's like, yeah, it really was, when you step back and think about it. My God, it was depressing as hell, but it was compelling.
I loved it. It was compelling. I will say that, Sunday nights, my wife and I may have had some wine, and every episode there's like a really serious talk where they're talking very softly for like 10 minutes. And I would start to doze off almost every time. Like, I want to pay attention, but it's so quiet.
I did the same thing. That's hilarious. I was like, I'd fall asleep in the middle and be like, oh, shit, all right, fine. It's going to be on demand. I'll pick a weekday and I'll watch it again.
You know you missed something important. You know, it's not just banter. There's clues in there. You gotta go back and watch.
Oh, my God, yes. Yes. But
I thought the acting on it was... There were a few actors on there that I've seen in other things that I've just kind of been lukewarm on, and then I see them on this show and they are just killing it.
Yeah,
so I the visuals are stunning.
Yeah.
So that's been really good. Game of Thrones, of course. I feel like that goes without saying. Like, sure. Why bother lauding that show with praises at this point? It's just it's the greatest thing on television. Shut up about it. Veep and Silicon Valley. I guess I just watch all HBO shows now that I'm just rattling off.
I'm a huge Veep fan, and I love Silicon Valley. I told so many friends about Silicon Valley, and I really thought
it's incredible.
It really is. It really is. And yeah, you guys are really more in the thick. I think you're closer to relating to that show because I'm like, it's all new tech, and it's obviously that's the title, but it's so funny. God, those kids are really funny.
It's so good. It's so quick, and there's an actual heart to it. It's not just poop and dick jokes. Like although there's that season 1 finale where they are at the TechCrunch show talking about how many hand jobs they'd have to give to like win the show. And that's not me spoiling the bit. Like, that is an amazing, amazing scene of television.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so Silicon Valley has been really great. And then, oh, God, what else? I don't know. What are you watching while I think of other stuff? What about you?
All right, yeah, now I got to think. Man, The People versus O.J. Simpson was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And I did not want to watch that. Both the documentary and
my arms were
drama.
So crossed
and the
at
drama.
The start of it. Yeah.
They're both. I mean, the TV movie on FX was really, really funny, and the ESPN real documentary, O.J. Made in America. Holy shit, that was great too.
Right.
And and I'm sure you felt the same way because, like, we were old enough that when it was happening, it's like, yeah, we know, we were there, we saw all this. Do we really want to invest time to watch it dramatized for a new generation? But I was really impressed how there really were things to say in both projects that it was like, no, these were really good.
For me, like, the crazy thing, so my wife is 2 years younger than me, but we grew up in the same hometown. And, it's exactly like what you said. We were of that age where this was definitely a huge, huge thing, and we both remember it really well. But she remembered all of the gossip and minutia, like the possible romance between Chris Darden and Marcia Clark. Like, it was this. She knew all of the plot points where I was like, I don't remember any of this. What? Really? Did this happen?
Yeah, definitely. All right, what else? As I'm thinking. Well, certainly on the CW superhero shows, and honestly, this season they've only gotten better. I mean, I thought the first season of Supergirl was a lot of fun. I really think it's they've only upped their game this season. Same goes with the Flash. Legends of Tomorrow, even, I think that's the weakest of the 4 shows, but I still like it, and it's funny, and it's the lightest of the shows, and also, good God, when they introduced the Justice Society this year, I'm like, fantastic. So Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I watched the first season of The Flash when I was sick one week, and I was just like, all right, I guess I'll give this show a chance. Well, I'm not liking this show. I was being that guy. And then the next thing I know, I'd blown through 20 some odd episodes of it. So I have some catching up on that to do. I hear rave reviews about Supergirl, so I'm going to check that out soon.
Yeah, it's really great. And they keep just introducing great DC characters on all of these shows. And, I mean, God, Wild Dog, of all things, shows up on Arrow. And you're like, holy shit. Oh, yeah. And it's like, and I saw Max Collins in the summer before the season started and everything, and I've been trying to get him back. And I can't wait to talk to him about it because, that was one of his, throwaway, not even throwaway. I'm sure he wanted to do something big with it. But it's just it was, I would say, one of the most unlikely characters to find their way, back. And, he's front and center in Arrow this season. It's like, holy shit, look at Wild Dog. That's crazy. So
comics wise, I sort of go in spurts on comics. Like I'll go, months without reading comics, and then all of a sudden I'm just buying everything under the sun.
Is it easier to buy trades for you and read trades than
sometimes it depends on what's out there. Like I buy a lot of digital stuff. Digital is kind of like if I'm just going to try something out, but if I'm going to go buy a trade, then I'll generally go to the store.
I kind of do the same thing. Yeah.
Because the trades are like the books that I want to hold on to.
Yes, definitely.
At the same time, Sheriff of Babylon, Tom King and Mitch Gerard I think is just amazing storytelling.
Agreed.
It's really, really well done.
Did you see a kinship at all with what you're doing with Redlines?
Yeah, I do. I've kind of jealous of them. I started writing Redline. I think James and I started talking about it in 2013, and it was totally written by 2014, I think, 2015 maybe. So it was all done before Sheriff of Babylon started to come out. And I was real nervous that it was going to be too similar. Thankfully, that's not the case. But that's a really well done book. The art's great, the storytelling's great, the writing's perfect.
And isn't it
great
to see? You can tell
Tom King's spent time over there. It just feels real.
Yeah, very authentic. Oh my God, yes. And also, it's just great to see Vertigo get this nice shot in the arm again because clearly, Image really took the game away in a lot of ways and a lot of creators away from Vertigo. And, it's just an imprint, whatever. But Vertigo really does have this amazing tradition. And I do think the influx of new editors and the new writers and artists and stuff. God, one that, and I don't know if it counts from 2016 more so than 2015, but The Kitchen. And The Kitchen, it's and now I'm blanking, and I gotta look them up. I had the writer on. Ollie Masters was the writer, and good British writer, Ollie Masters. It's a New York 1970s story about an Irish mob where all the husbands go to jail, and the women decide, all right, we got to take over, to keep the business running, and then discover they do it better than the men do, and then the men come back. It's 7 issues. And Declan Shalvey, and I think Deck. If Deck didn't write it, or Deck didn't have something to do with the art, then Jordi Belair, or no, because something. It was damn it, now I'm blanking. Lovely Boston artist, and damn it, I forget her name. So I'm gonna have to look this up while we're talking.
It's fine. I'll check that out. That sounds cool. Rick Remenders and Jerome Oppen's 7 to Eternity. Yes. I just started reading a week or two ago, and that was one that I picked up of all right, I'll give some sci-fi a shot. And it's super unique. The art is phenomenal, and Rick Remender is telling something new. It's not.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like it's ripping off things. It seems like it is very much its own sci-fi world, and I'm all for it.
He's got 3. He's got 3 really great sci-fi things going right now with Low, Black Science, and 7 to Eternity. I agree with you.
Oh yeah, Black Science. Oh my God, Black Science is good. Matteo Scalera.
Yeah,
go.
By the way, Ollie Masters and Ming Doyle are your art team. For the Kitchen, and it's the paperback's out there. So Good stuff. Go on.
Cool. I'll check that out. Yeah, Black Science is another book that I kind of picked up on a whim. I've been keeping up with it. It's Rick Remender's doing some really great books that you can tell they're also like perfect comic books, you know, like they are great examples of that medium versus, oh, this is just a TV pitch that somebody is force fitting into a comic. I think it's awesome. What else? Oh,
how about The Vision?
This is where
you go ahead and then I'll tell you mine.
Oh, The Vision, Tom King's Vision. It is. I bought it. It is in my iPad, but I have not actually read it much.
I have to say that really is the best series that I read of 2016.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, it was something new to say about The Vision. It's very, as I keep saying, and I've had Tom on twice to talk about it, and actually he's coming on in the next few days, right after you. It's very Ray Bradbury. It's very Outer Limits.
Oh, yeah.
It's that kind of classic sci-fi with kind of the O. Henry twist and everything. It's really, really smart. And, yeah, it's just robots gone wrong. The
covers to it are super rad. Man.
Oh, yeah.
They're really, like, you get it. It's super charming. It's a sort of almost Norman Rockwell slice of life, but with the Vision and his family. So I have it. It's in my stack of to read, but I haven't cracked it open yet. I was just thinking of a book. Oh, this is probably where I'm going to lose some people. But I saw an article on Comics Alliance this past year that said Transformers More Than Meets the Eye is the best book on the stands. And I harumphed as I read this article, like, oh, okay, whatever, guy. And then I was bored out of my mind. I think my wife and baby were away for a weekend, and I just needed, like, something to read, some sort of popcorn, nothing. And I remembered that article, so I bought the trade. And then, you know, like the first issue of the trade, arms were still crossed of like, I don't know what all this is. Optimus Prime has some crazy history. I don't get this. And then by the end of that trade, I was starting to get into it. And then I bought the second trade, and then the third trade, and the fourth trade. And I bought that whole damn run. It's really good, man. It's impressively. James Roberts, I think, is the writer on it. And he takes a cast of like 30-some Autobots and Decepticons and makes them all have their own arcs. There are jokes in it that are really good. There are gay romances in the book.
Wow.
There's a scene that is like the What's in the Box scene from Seven. I mean, it gets dark. Give it a shot. I'm going to tell you the first issue may not be I think what they did is they took like the end of a series and tacked it into the trade of the first start of this series.
Oh, okay.
And so like the first issue really threw me, but then after that, man, it gets good and like good. And they do time travel. They do all sorts of like just bonkers storytelling. But also, Transformers, the cartoon hit right when I was a kid. So like that is my bread and butter nostalgia.
I can appreciate that. You know what's great though?
Yeah.
I think all the license holders nowadays, in a really specific way, they really get the best writers and artists to represent this stuff. Because I mean, honestly, Titan is doing a great job with Doctor Who. IDW is doing a great job with Transformers, and Star Trek has been amazing. I'm so on the JJ movies. I liked this summer's Star Trek Beyond, and I really liked the first movie. But the second movie was kind of it was horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, I could not tell you what happened in that movie. Well, but this last one I thought was kind of charming. There were some good jokes in it.
No, I agree, and it's funny because I keep shit-hammering poor Zachary Quinto because just that choice of making Spock more human is really, I think, a disservice to the Spock character because that kind of you nut him when you really take his balls away because he's not the poker-face badass that Nimoy really was. And it's funny because at first I'm like, maybe that just shows you how special Nimoy was, and truly he was. But that said,
right? Yeah, no,
I have to say I have MeTV, and their sister station, Heroes and Icons, runs all 5 TV shows. And so I'm not only watching Nimoy be Spock, but I'm also watching Tuvok on Voyager and T'Pol on Enterprise. And it's like, no, you know something? At the end of the day, Zachary Quinto, just not a good Vulcan. I'm just not buying it.
Well, I think there's also a difference in stature. You know, like Leonard Nimoy was so much taller than what's his face?
Casting a giant. I agree, or literally taller.
So I feel like physically he was a more imposing guy than Zachary Quinto. At the same time, I don't know. I think he's done pretty well with. It doesn't bother me.
Well, you know what's funny? The JJ verse stories in IDW that Mike Johnson writes, the Spock character comes off much better. And I even had him on. Yeah, and I had him on back in September with the editor, Sarah Gatos, and Mike made the point of, you know, because he's like, you know, the movies are really extreme situations. So, because, again, even in Star Trek Beyond, it kind of bothers me how emotional Spock is. And also, especially when he's with McCoy. And, you know, the point I made was, I'm like, you know, when you put them together and McCoy is emotional and Spock can't help but be emotional because that's who he is. And I'm like, I get that, you know, as they say in the first JJ movie, when Nimoy says, Jim, I just lost my mother and I lost my planet. Believe me, I'm emotionally compromised. And it's like, no, I get it. I understand the motivations and why. Yeah. But when you put them together, that means McCoy always wins. Whereas, honestly, there really was that tennis match, and you watch the old episodes of, you know, what's wrong with you, Spock, you don't feel. And, you know, Nimoy could just coldly look at him and go, really, doctor? And it's like, all right, sorry, yeah, you're right. You know, I mean, and you get this, like, they both have their moments. And I just don't feel like that in the new dynamic. But Mike said, he goes, well, but the movies are more kind of extreme circumstances. And he said, my stories are, you know, are really, you're getting more the day-to-day Spock. And I'm like, yeah, I think you're right.
Like in the day-to-day issues, you can sort of tell smaller stories, where in these movies, like the universe has to be at stake, is what it seems like. They can't just do a simple, oh, here is a shitty day. It's got to be this massive, oh, the sun is exploding and all of time is going to end. You know, it's different stakes, and it's kind of a corner that they're writing themselves into, but they'll find a way out of it.
Yeah. No, and honestly, the third made me excited for a fourth movie in a way that the second movie didn't make me excited for a third movie. So yeah, it's like, no, I want to see it. God, that space station.
Right.
Holy shit! Rad. Oh my God, that was a paperback cover come to life.
Yeah. That was the old sci-fi, like 1970s sci-fi art. That I loved it.
It was ridiculous. Any others?
I just watched Spectral on Netflix I think it was a straight to Netflix movie that really surprisingly good. Like, I didn't really know what to expect. It's where this guy is an engineer for like DARPA. Creating weapons for the government, and they have a scene where he has a conscience, you know, that sort of thing. But he had invented some goggles, some scopes for soldiers to see different spectrums of light. And over in some country in Europe, I didn't catch what they said at the front of the movie. Maybe they made up a country like Bosnia stand-in. Some soldiers see apparitions, like ghosts, and then those ghosts kill them. But, you know, they have the scope, and the military has the scope and recording, and so they bring this engineer to, like, figure out what's going on, and it becomes the military versus these apparitions, and it's rad, man.
Cool.
Check it out. It's really good.
Oh, that's great. No, that's really good to hear, because, yeah, I'm always, you know, and I've been saying that a lot of original Netflix films are kind of mediocre at best. So it's nice to hear
there are a few duds.
Unlike their television shows that are really exceptional. So,
holy shit, Stranger Things came out of nowhere.
Yes, it did.
It's just awesome.
Yes, it's
just awesome.
Now here's a movie from 2015, but now is streaming, and I thought was great. And leaning back into Star Trek, because Anton Yelchin and Patrick Stewart are in it. That Green Room movie.
Yo, yeah,
Wow.
I keep hearing it's in my queue. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh man,
Good?
oh yeah, it's really really good. And once again, Patrick Stewart shows you another side of him, and it's like nice going.
That guy's so good.
Yeah, he is.
He's so good.
Completely atypical of anything else I've ever seen him in.
What's the new show that he's on where he's like
Blunt Talk.
newscaster?
Blunt Talk, yeah. That's Jonathan Ames.
Yeah.
Jonathan Ames and Seth MacFarlane for Stars. It's pretty good.
I haven't seen it, but every preview I see of it is like, oh fuck, that seems great.
It has some funny stuff in it, and it is funny seeing him being so outlandishly ridiculous. It's hit and miss, but I do think the hits are funny, so it's certainly worth watching. So, yeah, it does make me laugh. But there are parts of each episode where I'm like, all right, let's move on. But no, he's got that ironically funny, it's kind of like a Jeffrey Tambor kind of performance.
Okay.
Where a guy's just being so like a Hank Kingsley, but a more powerful Hank Kingsley. I'm not talking about his transgender show on Amazon. I'm talking about the Larry Sanders and stuff.
The Larry Sanders. Actually, my wife and I just bought that series because there was some special on Amazon. So we haven't started it yet, but sooner or later, when we run out of TV, we're just going to pick a night, and that's going to be Larry Sanders night.
It's my favorite.
Rewatch that whole show.
Yeah, my favorite '90s sitcom. I mean, it's such a genius.
It's so
show.
good, man.
Oh yeah, and God, when literally right after Gary Shandling passed away this summer, I immediately went out and bought the box set for the whole series. I have the other 2-disc set that they put out that has a ton of great bonus stuff of him interviewing.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, they have, and some of these interviews are even on YouTube, but he and Seinfeld sat down and talked about ending their show while it was still, creatively satisfying, and that's a really good conversation. And God, there's just a really heartbreaking conversation he has with Linda Doucette, who played Hank's assistant, and I forget her name, but
blanking.
But Darlene, and she was really Gary Shandling's live-in girlfriend. And they just have this very uncomfortable conversation. And, Shandling really was interested in the human condition. And if you really go back and look at and listen to a lot of his more intense interviews, it comes through. And it's all over these interviews. He does an interview with Alec Baldwin. They both boxed at a few, at an LA gym, and they're sparring in between talking and stuff. Yeah, it's crazy.
No way.
And Shandling he was like, he never wanted to get into fistfights as a kid, and he kind of he wanted to learn boxing too. I don't even know what his motivation was, but it's very, very.
I want to get punched in the face.
What's that?
He just wanted to be punched in the face. You know what that feels like, I guess?
I don't know, but it's pretty amazing. And Baldwin clearly is a better boxer, and he gets in some shots, and they're both taking it seriously in terms of, you're playing like an intense game of basketball or something like that,
Baldwin also would have a serious height advantage, right? And isn't he a good bit taller than Gary Shandling?
You're probably right, a couple inches or whatever, but it was clear that, and Shandling has a coach in his corner that, again, I mean, it's slightly competitive, but also instructive.
I love that he had a coach. That's amazing.
It's fascinating. It really is. Duchovny's on there. Sharon Stone is on there. It's great. No, it's.
Oh man, I'm gonna look that up.
It's called Not Just the Best of Larry Sanders. Yeah, not just the Best of the Larry Sanders Show, but yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. So,
yeah, that might be our Christmas break.
There you go.
Might be our new tradition.
I can appreciate that.
Oh shit! I forgot when we were talking about comics. I forgot to mention Jason Aaron's run on Thor. I think is fucking awesome. I've never really been into Thor, but holy shit, I'm in.
No, it's and with Assad Ribic drawing it when he did and everything, it was like if heavy metal was doing Thor stories.
Yeah.
It was just gorgeous. God, what a shitty year. God, all the wonderful. I mean,
oh my God!
In terms of all the great people we lost, and continue to.
It started with Robin Williams killing himself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
yeah.
It was a rough,
but God,
rough year.
January. I remember when Bowie passed away, and Glenn Fry and just, all the music people we lost and film and television people, and poor Alan Thicke even last week. Jesus.
I know. And, and I get it that guys of our age, like the celebrities that we sort of grew up watching are now getting older, and that maybe that's why it seems so like there's a lot happening. I don't know, but it's been a rough year.
Yeah, it sucks. Ridiculous, man. Oof.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to end on a downer. What other? Let's see.
Yeah, no kidding.
I want to keep looking at
what else is great.
Yeah, other great comics. I gotta tell you, the DC Rebirth, I've really enjoyed it, and in particular, thank God, because it's been a good 5+ years since they got Superman right. I really think since James Robinson and Greg Rucka were writing Superman, it's been that long. And I love what Dan Jurgens is doing, and I love what Pete Tomasi is doing, and the art teams are great. And I'm really glad that it's back to that pre-Flashpoint Superman who was married to Lois Lane, and I love the idea that they have a kid. And it's like, that's what Superman should be. I think the New 52's young Superman.
So he's not like, Superman's not like 25 and wearing armor and jeans?
Exactly. No.
Okay.
Yeah, they got rid of all that. Thank God. They literally killed that Superman off. And it was like watching Jason Todd die back in the 80s. It's just like, good. Die. Please die. Are you dead yet?
Oh, man. Yeah, I checked out of DC for a while. So
everybody
did.
Hear. Everybody did. Honestly, it was really, it was pathetic. And truly when, Tom King right now, by the way, writing Batman and doing an exceptional job. Oh, my God.
And Scott Snyder's I wouldn't, I say I checked out DC. That's not entirely true. Scott Snyder's Batman has been consistently really good.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't say that I'm current on it, but he and Greg Capullo, have done. That's a perfect Batman pairing.
I would agree. And I'm a new convert to Valiant, which they have so many great writers that I have enjoyed their work through doing Word Balloon. And, when Matt Kitt and Jeff Lemire and Fred Van Lente and, Jen Van Meter are among their, top writers. And I like Jodie Hauser, what she's doing with Faith, I think is, has a nice message and I think does what it should in terms of being a good superhero book. I'm surprised because I never was a Valiant reader in the 90s.
Invader Zim from Oni is really well done. If you're a fan of that property at all, or if you're not, I think it's a really good book. And Auteur, are you reading that?
No, tell me about Auteur.
Oh man, it's bonkers. It is almost better that I don't tell you it. It's the art is crazy, the story's crazy. It's about a crazy executive producer director who's just, he hires a serial killer at one point to be in his movie about a serial killer. Like it's it is crazy in the best way. And I'm doing a terrible job of summarizing it, and so they'll probably be mad at me. But
okay, but I'll check it out. That's another Oni book?
That's another Oni book. Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. I'll check it out.
It's really good. Kelly Sue DeConnick's Bitch Planet has been great.
Yes.
Has been great.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of hers and Val's, and I'm really happy that they're doing as well as they are. And also Pretty Deadly. Yeah.
When I first bought that book, I was a little hesitant on it, but I'm super into it now.
Yeah, it's a cool book.
And anything Matt Fraction writes, I'm there.
I'm with you. I'm definitely with you. There you go.
Bendis,
go on. Brian's doing great. Yeah, absolutely.
I won't touch him. No, he's I actually just bought the new Jessica Jones series that they're doing, and it's just like old times.
Yeah, I know. I felt the same way. It's like they picked up exactly where they left off. It's great. I'm really happy that Gatos is back because he has a very specific way. Another one that I am looking at, and I haven't had a chance. I got an advance copy from Mike Oming, but him and Douglas Rushkoff are doing this really interesting book with Adolf Hitler and now I'm blanking. Alistair Cook.
Okay,
isn't it Alistair Cook or?
I don't know the name. What's the book that they're doing? It's Hitler and Alistair Cook, the person.
Yeah, it's called Alistair.
Dummy.
Yeah, it's Alistair and Adolf, and actually it's probably not Alistair Cook. Isn't Alistair Cook the British guy that does Masterpiece Theatre?
Possibly. That sounds more right. Alistair Cook sounds very British.
Yeah, hello. Hitler and I are collaborating on something very wonderful.
I'll tell you what I'm excited to see is the Mouse Guard has been picked up by the guy that did the Planet of the Apes reboot. So I cannot wait to see what they do with that.
David is so exceptional, and I
talk about a beautiful book.
Yes.
I'm sure Oming is pissed that we're talking about Mouse Guard when he's got Mice Templar.
Well, that's all right. And, I'm about to give him love with this Alistair and Adolf book because he's the artist on it. And it's, God bless it, what's his name? Alistair Crowley, of course. Shame on me.
Oh.
Yes. And it's a very heady book, Alistair and Adolf. And
you said they sent you a preview of it already?
They sent me a preview of it, and now I'm looking at maybe it's out in 2017. I don't know if it's come out yet or not. No, it came out. All right, issue 1 came out in November. So yeah,
okay.
So that counts. Another Oming book is Cave Carson has a cybernetic eye. The book he's doing with Gerard Way. For Gerard Way's Young Animal DC imprint.
Shit. Yeah.
And man, I'm 2 issues in. I love all those crazy Silver Age characters. Cave Carson is a perfect example of that. And it's a lot of fun, and it reminds me it's still very different, but it reminds me of when they brought Animal Man back in the 90s and stuff, and it became as good as it did. And even when they brought it back 5 years ago. That was one of the
cool. So I mean, like they're not doing like a grim and gritty thing, right? It's sort of more of a funner take on it, or where are they going?
I would say it's a quirky take on it, and it acknowledges everything that happened in the Silver Age. It's just he is back, and he's got a daughter, and it's just kind of figuring out his place in the world and everything. And he's
cool.
Yeah, and he's a former kind of international adventurer and stuff, and gets sucked back into a thing. And also his cybernetic eye seems to show after images of people that are dead, and they seem to be calling to him and stuff. So his cybernetic eye is reaching other planes of existence now and stuff. It's kind of interesting. I think it's really cool.
There's a book. Van Jensen is doing the adaptations of the James Bond novels.
Yes.
Wait a
minute. Are those adaptations of the novels, or is he doing news stories with Dynamite?
I thought he was doing an adaptation of the novel, but I might be entirely wrong.
I could be wrong
on that. I don't know.
Because I really love Dynamite's James Bond stuff. It started with Warren Ellis.
Yeah.
And I forget who the current writer is. And Ibrahim Mustafa, a good friend, is doing the art.
Oh, yeah. I follow him on Twitter, man. His art is kick-ass.
He sent me this amazing original piece of it was his tribute. He just did a bunch of like one-shot, I don't know if they're prints or what, but images from the books. And he sent me a Goldfinger. And it's just gorgeous. It really is amazing. And it's like Goldfinger is like the shadow of Goldfinger is over James Bond and Oddjob in mid-fight.
Oh, rad.
And they're fighting on top of a bar of gold and stuff. It's just this gorgeous image. But I'm psyched too for the new book, the spinoff that's coming up, and James Robinson's going to be writing a Felix Leiter book.
Oh, wow.
Which I think that's great. Why not?
That's perfect.
Yeah, man. No, I'm
glad that they have that. They have that license and they're just kind of running with it. They're not. It seems like they're taking big swings, which is cool to see.
What did you think of Spectre? I know that was a year ago, but what did you think of it?
Man, see, like I loved. It starts off so well.
Yes.
It starts off great, and then about 50 minutes in, you're just kind of like, what's going on? And then what's his face turns around and goes cuckoo, and I checked out of the movie. Like it's just
so
I watched the whole thing. At certain points I was laughing. I wanted to like it. the stunts are great, the action's great. I think this story is kind of a mess.
Yeah, and I thought it was a missed opportunity having Christoph Waltz as Blofeld, because it's like, that's great. Please, what a great. And
but he turns around like it's a big reveal, and the audience has no reason to know who this guy is or care.
Yes.
And for that matter, really, neither does James Bond. Like it's just. It's kind of a mess.
It is a mess. Convoluted backstory tying into James's past and all that nonsense. It's like, whatever. But you know what was interesting, mentioning Oddjob, Chris Bautista was was fun to watch again. And it's
kind of great.
Goddamn,
who
man.
knew that guy was going to be the next great thing?
No
right?
shit, the next good MMA star to actually be a decent actor. No, he's fun as hell in Guardians and...
Guardians in the trailer for Volume 2 of Guardians. He's got great timing, man.
Yeah.
And like I'm sitting here bashing Skyfall or Spectre, but I loved Skyfall and I loved the others. So I don't know. Skyfall was a bit of a letdown, but also my expectations going into it were crazy high. So
I hear you, man. Well, and as we're acknowledging Archer and its greatness and stuff, moment of silence for the great Napoleon Solo, who we lost.
Oh yeah,
I'm a big Robert Vaughn fan. Do you know? I let a friend know about this because I think it's great, and it's definitely something that likely flew under the radar for, I would say, 99% of the geek audience. But BBC Radio and Robert Vaughn did this thing a couple years ago. And it was on Radio 4. And Radio 4 is their drama channel. And they'll do comedies and drama and stuff and original radio plays. And they did this thing called Solo Behind the Iron Curtain. And it was a true story of Robert Vaughn based on a true story of this, he was making this World War II movie in 1969. And it's the bridge over, and I forget the name of the city. But it's this George Segal, Robert Vaughn World War II movie. And this young Yugoslavian production assistant, or Czechoslovakian, I think it was Czechoslovakia. No, I think, anyway, regardless, it was one of those Eastern European countries.
Sure.
And she wants to defect. And they help her defect. And it's like this crazy Robert Vaughn involved in a real Cold War story. And it's cute, and it's fun, and they use Man from U.N.C.L.E. music in the show, because I think BBC has a different kind of licensing thing, because they always use...
Somehow they got around some rule and they were able to use it.
Yeah, or international law that, I don't know. Or BBC maybe just does this blanket ASCAP and BMI kind of payment to, whoever deserves the money. Yeah. But it's great, and it's fun. And it's true, because even the production assistant is like, oh, it's such an honor to be the assistant to the famous Napoleon Solo, and they cut into the Man from U.N.C.L.E. music, and it's great because Vaughn did this maybe 8 years ago, and he sounds a little older and stuff, but he still sounds like Napoleon Solo, and it's like it's kind of fun that he sounds, he's it's still Robert Vaughn, and
he's still doing it.
Yeah, it was great, man. So yeah, and in fact, I even tweeted to Radio 4. And said, God, with his passing, I sure hope you guys are going to, replay the show. And they're like, that's a great idea. And I'm like, good. I hope you guys were thinking about it.
So how did you first hear it?
I listen to BBC radio dramas all the time. They do, their Scottish studios do amazing plays. There police procedurals and just detective stories and just great straight up dramas and
I had
decent
no idea.
Comedy too. Oh yeah, audio drama is alive and well in Great Britain, and and it's really neat to hear it from even beyond the English studios, to hear it from like the Scottish studios. And this one show called P Division Code 4-1 is this really bleak police procedural that gets these really sad psycho crimes. And, half the guys, I mean, to stereotype, but they sound like Sean Connery. It's fantastic. All the old...
they'll take it as a compliment.
Yeah, all the old chief... I think they would. All the old chief inspectors, they all sound like, have you got the papers? Is it all... it's like... it's fantastic, man. So, yeah, they're great. Or there was one called Baldi, and it's this Franciscan priest who solves crimes and stuff, and it's modern day. But, yeah, it's crazy. And every era. I mean, Lord Peter Wimsey from the 30s, Yeah, they always do a ton of interesting dramas. So yeah, I'm just a sucker for that shit.
That's cool, man. I'm always looking for new things to listen to at work. Lots of times we're in the thick of designs.
There you go.
I share an office with our other art director on Archer, Chad Hurd, and the two of us are just looking for podcasts to play. So, yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll check that out.
Yeah, Radio 4 and Radio 4 Extra are the two channels, and they have a lot of audio on demand. And also they do great documentaries. They do tremendous documentaries.
Cool.
So, God, I heard one a couple years ago, and it was all about the Beatles, and it was called Bigger Than Jesus, and literally it was about that period of John making the comment and all the fallout afterwards.
The peak and the fall?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and it's funny because last year was the 50th anniversary of all that stuff, or this past year.
Oh, was it really?
It was 66 when he said it. And in fact, their first press conference to address the comment happened in Chicago in August. And the Album Rock station I was working at, I'm like, we ought to do something. It's the 50th anniversary. And they're like, I'm like, okay, good talking to you. Good idea. Glad I brought it up. Dumbasses.
Just crickets.
Yeah, what are you going to do? So anyway. But there you go. All right, we gave a good recommend list there, I think, of things to watch and things to listen to.
Right?
Absolutely,
I'm sure I blanked on most. I can't imagine how many names I just slaughtered, but I think we did all right.
Absolutely. Well, but more importantly, Redline again comes out in March, and order it at the end of this month from Oni. So go to your LCS and pull out the Diamond catalog and order Redline, and then of course The Art of Archer is out, and a beautiful book. Is it like coffee table size? It looks like it was kind of wide.
Yeah, it's format. Coffee table sized. It's not too huge. It's 240 pages, if that gives you an idea, and it's maybe an inch thick, so it's not a giant tome, but it's a perfect coffee table book. It's hardback, so it's like the printing on it is really well done. HarperCollins did a great job on the execution of it. So we're really proud of it. I hope people check it out, and I hope people check out Redline. I'm really proud of that series. I think it's really great. If you just look at it for Clay and Kelly's art alone, I think it's worth it.
I agree. And also, if you missed Season 7 of Archer, it's currently running on FX this month. So I noticed that on my on-demand because I was like, oh, maybe I can relook at a couple episodes or whatever. And I'm like, oh no, they're all just airing on television. So if you do want to catch Archer Season 7 happening now on FX, and Season 8 soon to come next year. And man, I'm really excited that you guys are greenlit through Season 10. Nice going, man.
Yeah, man, it's exciting times, and hopefully we'll have some big announcements coming in the next few months. We'll see.
Excellent. Well, again, let's make certain that we have a new talk. But dude, I'm happy to welcome you back, and let's not wait 8 years for the next one. Let's only make it months.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
There you go, Neal Holman, Art of Archer, available now. Order it, because if you love the show, you're going to love this book. It really is everything you always wanted to know about Archer in one nice volume. And look for Redlines from Oni Press coming up in March. Thanks again for listening to Word Balloon today, brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. As I said before, thank you, League, for your wonderful support. And, if you want to help the cause, go to wordballoon.com and click on that Patreon ad right there on the front page, and it will take you there to be able to subscribe to Word Balloon. But truly, thank you for the support, League of Word Balloon listeners. And, of course, by In-Stock Trades at InStockTrades.com, where you can get things like the Deadpool Omnibus by Brian Posehn and Jerry Duggan. This is an incredible volume. Man, 1,344 pages. And you've got artists like Tony Moore, Scott Koblish, Mike Hawthorne, Declan Shalvey, Kari Randolph. Very impressive group of artists. 45% off. It's just $55 at In-Stock Trades. And I really do think that Posehn and Duggan are among the fine art writers who have put some interesting spins on Deadpool. So there's the Amazing Spider-Man Epic Collection, Great Responsibility trade paperback. And this features a lot of very cool stuff from Steve Ditko and Stan Lee. Goes back to the original run, really. This collects Amazing Spider-Man 18 through 38 and the second annual. 50% off, just $19.99. You can get Avengers, Marvel Universe, Avengers Ultron Revolution Digest. Joe Carmanga is the writer, and this is a digest, but pretty neat little compact collection of Avengers stories, and clearly, I think, based on the animated version of the show, because it collects issues 1 through 4 of the Ultron Revolution. It's 50% off, just $4.99. As I said before, there's the Punisher trade paperback, Volume 1, On the Road. Steve Dillon work with Becky Cloonan, a Declan Shalvey cover. It's a great collection. It collects issues 1 through 6 of this year's Punisher series. 50% off, just $8.99. That and a hell of a lot more waiting for you at InStockTrades.com. Great deals, great books, great prices. Check it out for yourself, InStockTrades.com. Thanks again for listening. More great stuff coming up before the end of the week and before Christmas. Can you believe it? Yes, there is still at least one more episode before Christmas because, again, great conversations. They're great end-of-the-year conversations and, in some cases, very Christmas-related. So I wanted to get this stuff to you, so you got it in time to listen to it when you're on the road heading for your Christmas weekend destinations. Drive safe, be careful out there, and fear not, because another episode of Word Balloon is on the way. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2016.